In a world where digital content barrels towards us at relentless breakneck speeds, where posts and memes and tweets and snaps rain down a punishing assault of attention-grabbing data, three heroic podcasters with a strong background in broadcast media are taking on the internet. Each week, we break down the trends, technology, and connections that are transforming our lives. We are Things I Found Online. Buckle your seatbelt low and tight across your waist. Ooh, that kind of tingles. We're venturing out into the internet to learn the tools and tips of seasoned travelers. Join us with your host, Louise Palanker, Jack Daniel, and the handsome one currently speaking, Joe Cipriano. And our guests, actress, comedian, writer, director, inventor, Lydia Cornell. Hold your applause till the end. And travel photographer, Gregory Schell. Louise. Oh, and there is the applause.
Yes, Joe.
Dulcet Joe.
Are exploring travel app sites and blogs with our guests, actress Lydia Cornell.
Yay!
May we kindly have her website, gentlemen?
Oh, let's see it.
www.
Let's
Ooh.
put that up there.
Nice.
There she
There
is.
she is, and all of her
Gorgeous.
ventures and adventures.
Yes.
And we have travel photographer Gregory Schell.
Oh my gosh, he is lovely too.
There's
Very
Greg.
good. Ronnie.
Yes, he's son of Ronnie. Is Ronnie watching?
I don't know if he has any
Does
capable
he have
way of
electricity?
I don't know if
Yes.
he has. Does he have the internet?
I'm not sure yet.
Internet.
He's working on
Where
it.
do you go to buy that? Where are you gonna? I guess you have to go to a store. Go to an internet store.
An internet store, yes.
Pick
No,
up one
we've
of
got it. We've got him on the internet.
that's
He's probably taking a nap right now.
Is he?
He
It's nap time.
is
Yeah, it's nap time.
the funniest guy in the
He
world.
is hilarious.
Funniest guy in the world.
I
Yeah.
love him.
We love Ronnie. Okay.
Thank you.
And so's Greg.
Hey,
Thank
so
you.
Yeah.
we can bring Ronnie on the show in the future, right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay,
Oh, he
cool.
loves being on
Yeah.
shows.
Who here is a frequent flyer? Anyone?
Do we raise hands?
Joe, I
Yes.
know you are because you are rarely here.
That's true. You're right. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
he's
yeah.
my co-host, and yet,
Yeah,
which is where Jack comes in.
that's why Jack's here.
And Jack's playing the part of Larry, and he will for
He is.
I'm kind of
And
a
he-
cut
and he does
rate
it-
Joe Cipriano.
he does it quite
You
well.
hear that a lot, don't you?
So, Joe, when you travel, is it to mostly the same places where you guys have homes all over the world, or is it?
No, it's we do frequent, like maybe New York City. My daughter, son-in-law, granddaughter live in Miami, so we go there a lot. We're going to Orlando in a couple of weeks to visit nephew and niece and their kids. But just came back from Europe. We had a wonderful trip to Italy. So yeah, all over the place, but always using frequent flyer miles or associated goodies.
And he
to
sometimes
help.
brings me along when he needs lawn care.
I see.
artwork.
Carry a bag.
So it's really
Laundry.
helpful.
Yes.
Valet services.
Valet services.
Greg,
It's quite
Prefers
good.
valet.
for you,
Yes.
travel is mostly always business, correct?
Well, yeah, if you can call it business, yeah. I mean, I do a lot of lounging and, hammock, swaying with coconuts in my hand.
Based on your
love that.
Facebook
Wow. That's
presence,
good.
Nice.
yeah.
I'm going with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's business. Yeah, it's mostly travel photography for magazine editorial, corporate clients. It just depends on wherever I get booked.
Yeah.
But it's not always business class. Let me just
Well, I
make
was
that
going to ask you
distinction.
that. If say the company is booking, your flight, can you bump it up with some miles and go to business class?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've done everything imaginable, from bumping up to business or even first class
Yeah.
to actually getting downgraded, and doing some funny math with, frequent flyer miles. If you downgrade yourself, you can actually take the extra miles and put them back into the coffer.
Oh.
We did not know
I
this.
didn't
Greg,
know
what
that.
Little
tiers are you?
secret.
Where are you elite? Are you elite on several airlines?
I'm really close to being a 1,000,000 member on United.
Holy cow.
On United,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
good one to it.
Yeah, like the George Clooney up in the air. They'll announce
that
my
guy.
name and
Yes,
give me a black United card and
They
all
will.
that.
It's given to you by
They
Vera
will.
Farmiga, too, as I recall.
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
And it's embarrassing if you're in row 24D when they do that.
Right.
Make sure you're up front when they
Yeah.
So, Lydia, you've been a celebrity most of your adult life.
I guess so.
So, are
Since I
you
was
used to being
24.
treated like a very
I used to
valued
be. Yes.
airline customer?
Or you're more treated
well,
like I am.
Yes,
yeah, right.
probably.
Well, I actually did carry her into the studio today.
He did.
So,
He
yeah.
chauffeured me in on his shoulder.
Yeah.
That's nice because it was actually Jack's job, but
Well, he's trying to show me how to do it because I
the
always do
valet
it wrong.
services, the valet services. All right.
Funny.
So
Well, we used to go in the big 747s with the bar upstairs. We
Oh,
were
the
all,
second level,
eating
yeah.
bonbons and drinking champagne. We were flown around the world. I went with Tom Hanks across the country, first class all the way. ABC sent us on a city,
So he was on
50
Bosom
city tour.
Buddies, and you were on Too Close for Comfort. And you and Tom just knocking back some peanuts and having a laugh.
bonbons, champagne. We're, wearing boa feathers. We were crazy.
Must
He
have
was
been a
dressing
hoot.
as a drag queen.
Yeah.
He was so funny.
Well,
He
that
played a
was
drag
his
queen.
wardrobe
Yeah, exactly.
on that show.
True, that's right. Yeah.
Sure it was.
And then there was the 90s. I was flown around the world to Monte Carlo to play tennis at the Princess Grace Foundation with Sean Connery. and
Wait a minute.
Prince
You play
Albert.
tennis? How
wait.
did we not talk about
Celebrity
I play tennis?
tennis.
We
I
must play
celebrity
tennis.
tennis.
Oh my
I'd love to do
gosh.
that.
Already.
But we were crazy. I
Yeah.
played with Merv Griffin and Jenny Craig and Kathy Lee Gifford and Princess Stephanie and this whole Pat Riley of the Lakers, the coach of the Lakers.
Yeah.
They always have these crazy celebrities.
So like when I have dreams where a lot of incongruent people are in the same room, that's your life.
That's true. Right.
Always. My life.
Yeah.
It's always been that way.
So
And yet I'm always doing lawn care in all these dreams.
you're always doing my lawn care,
Come
Jack.
with me next.
It's recurring. All right, so we're going to jump into some travel facts that David has compiled for us, and these are good. You guys can weigh in at any moment if I'm getting these travel facts wrong. The cheapest day to buy airline tickets is now on Sundays
That's
rather
wrong.
than
I'm
Tuesdays,
sorry.
according to things we found online. To save even more money, book your flight on the Sunday that's at least 3 weeks in advance of your trip. Recent data published by Expedia documents that American travelers spend an aggregate. It's what is throwing me off is that word aggregate.
Aggregate.
Yes.
Aggregate.
Yeah.
You get to it and your brain just goes, I don't know how.
It takes
No,
8
it's a
minutes just to
weird-
put your name in
You know
on
I'm
what?
the
spending 8
reservation.
billion minutes saying the word aggregate.
Exactly. There are way too many G's in that word.
There's so many.
Yeah.
Aggregate.
8.7 billion minutes of travel planning and booking time per year. So people just go on, whether they travel or not, they just travel via their imaginations. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wouldn't this be pretty?
Yeah.
Like wherever the bachelor has her dream date, they're like, oh, you could get a hut on an island, with champagne flutes, and it would run you.
It would run you.
Americans consume 22.95 hours of digital travel media.
Interesting.
We're dreamers. We are dreamers. In the 45 days prior to booking travel, from beginning research to final purchase, the traveling American visited a whopping 140 travel websites. According to similarweb.com, here are the most popular online travel agencies.
Drum roll.
Any guesses? Who has a guess? Who wants to read them?
Travelocity.
You want to go
You're good.
backwards?
Should I go?
Oh, well,
okay, number 6.
Why don't we go around and guess and we can
Okay,
tell you
let's
where
guess.
it is on the list.
All right, go ahead.
That's good.
Priceline.
Priceline is number 5.
Number 5.
Nice.
Expedia.
Expedia is number 3. Jack, you're looking at the list.
Oh, am I? Darn it, that's going to go so well for me.
So
Well,
go ahead, read the rest of the list, Jack.
Well, let's see. Go ahead, Jack.
Okay, so we've got Booking.com. Oh, we've got TripAdvisor, number 1. We've got Booking.com, which I actually don't use. I don't know about that one. And then Kayak is number 4. And then finally, we how do we say that? Bring back the bottom of the list? Oh, I think we just lost our G rating. The last one is Orbitz.
So I went to a blog and I found a travel blogger who had just posted some travel tips because it was billed as someone who has traveled one hell of a lot. And I want to know how many tips do you guys observe? Because you guys are seasoned. Number 1, and you can help me with the list, right, Jack?
Oh, sure.
Or Joe, or whoever's
ahead,
good
right.
at reading.
Joe likes to talk, so I
Go,
better.
go, Jack.
Go,
Jack.
Joe, go.
No. Oh,
Number
number
one.
1 is be patient.
I don't have time for that.
Always be
I
patient.
do not have time for that.
Damn it, be patient.
You have to be.
You have to be, because
that's
first of
good
all, you're
advice.
on a plane, you're on this tube that's traveling through the sky, and you have no control over when you're going to get anywhere.
Exactly.
True.
And I can just say this.
Yes.
The guy sitting next to me, I just got back from Washington, D.C., which is here in America. But the guy sitting next to me,
You know what?
Right.
You're right, lady. I'm
Debatable.
not so sure.
debatable. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is
not
a
so sure.
district, not a state.
That's true.
So
A lot of crazy people.
the guy sitting next to me, he got out to go to the bathroom twice. And the second time that he got out, he came back and he had the window seat and I had the middle seat with my husband sitting next to me. He came back and he brought Ode to Bathroom with him.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Ode to
What do you
Bathroom.
do in such an event? You just can't. You
Spray
can't
the
like.
air.
spray the air. You can't like hang like a little scented tree from him.
You could. Why not?
You know, that would be funny to have that in a carry-on. Have one of those green trees.
Are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that he had
Light a
something
candle.
stuck to him or something?
I don't. My husband had
air.
reported that it was
Oh.
the smallest bathroom he had ever been in. So I just imagine they're just strategically he didn't have the opportunity to like reach into.
All right, let's get into
Every
what
crevice.
airline was this?
This,
Do you-
oh,
do
you know what?
Do you want to?
This was Alaska, and everything about it
Alaska?
was delightful.
Should be good.
Yeah.
I like
It was
Alaska.
That's a great
great.
airline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
They
love Alaska.
were.
Do you know if
Yeah.
it was an Alaska plane or a Virgin America plane?
Yeah. That's
I think
a
actually the
I
Virgin
didn't ask
America.
it
Good
about
point.
his
The
personal
year it
life.
was made.
Yeah.
Was it purple? That
I was on the
usually tells you.
inside, Greg.
Well, that's where it's
that's
purple.
where-
What did the divider from the first class and second class look? Oh, you wouldn't know because she wouldn't look backwards on the planes. Of
It
course.
was kind of glass.
glass. That's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
a Virgin plane.
Might be
Oh,
a
all right.
Virgin. Yeah.
All right. So be patient
Like a
because you
virgin.
Be patient.
like a virgin. Wake up early.
Well,
What?
I think they mean prepare early.
No, they mean when
But
you
what if
get
you
to
have a
where
red
you're
eye?
going.
If you have red eye, you don't want to wake
No,
up.
they
early.
mean
Of course,
when
people
you're
wake up
there.
early.
When you're
Yeah.
there,
When you
take
arrive?
advantage of your day.
Oh,
Don't sleep through it.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
when
don't
you're
know
there.
me.
Oh, yeah.
really?
Okay, is that what they're
You
doing?
sure, Louise?
But you have to
Yeah.
tell people this. What if you want to rest? What do you want to?
Yes.
I
Sleep
think
a
they're
little.
saying wake up early so that you're not rushing for the flight.
100% I agree with that. I mean, the very first thing I did when I got to India was be the first guy in line for the Taj Mahal. And I was the very first guy to rush up to the Taj and watch the sun come up and
Wow.
watch the entire thing go from like yellow to white
beautiful.
to like bleed. Yeah. And all the tourists were like way behind me because I sprinted. So that's just a small example where waking up early
Yeah.
is a
But
very good idea.
Then it was then that you realized that you were standing at the exit.
That's right. I was
Oh,
at the
my
exit.
God.
So Greg, what's the most exotic? You really have been all over the world.
Yeah.
I watched one of your surf movies, and oh my God, you guys! Even in that one movie alone,
Yeah.
you were in some places that do not have a Hyatt.
That's right. The most exotic, well, I get this question a lot. The most exotic place I've ever been to are the Mentawai Islands. So these islands are part of Indonesia. They're about 200 miles west of Sumatra, which is, the large island that the equator sort of splits in half. And it takes probably 33 hours to get there from LA.
So you have to be patient.
You have to be patient. You got to wake up early.
Wake up early.
Wake up early.
And they're out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and they're just beautiful white sand beaches fringed by all this coconut palm trees and blue lagoons. And so when you ever see those Condé Nast covers
Yeah.
where you're like,
Right.
where is that? That looks like something out of a movie. Well, it's the Mentawai Islands.
That's where it is.
So did anyone see that show called Castaways?
Yes.
It was so great. Is that where they were?
Are you talking about Tom Hanks's film?
No.
You mean no?
No, it's a show where they take people
Reality. Yeah.
and they put them on islands away from each other, and they have to find each other.
I think I've seen that.
They do
Oh, I
have a
don't know if I've
camera
seen
crew
that either.
if
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
goes south.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like
Louise,
Survivor.
was this another dream of yours?
And
Was
Tom
I
Hanks
doing
was there.
lawn work
Tom
in the
Hanks was
dream?
there, yes.
Yeah, but it was a great show. It was really about human nature and finding yourself and how much we need each other. And I recommend it if you can stream it. Castaways.
Yeah.
But it was like what you're describing, Greg.
Yeah, and so I was also going to tell you that not only are these beautiful beaches with super warm water because, you're very close to the equator, so the water's like 87, 89 degrees. You go into the villages and all of the tribesmen have like tattooed faces and loincloths, and they have spears, and it's this really sort
Wow.
of hunter and gatherer society. So you
Wow.
really do feel like you're on a National Geographic
Yeah.
expedition.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and if you
Rule
want
of
to
thumb,
go,
never ask what's for dinner in those
That's
situations.
right. Yeah.
If
Usually
you-
alligator is the
if you
answer.
want to go
Or
somewhere,
yourself. Or you.
or yeah.
Don't
if you
get
want to go
close to
somewhere
the
where your parents
boiling
won't say,
cauldron.
if you tattoo your face, you'll never find a job. That's the place to live.
That's
right,
it.
exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you're right off the boat.
They
there.
can retire there.
They can retire there.
It's true. Yeah. But what was so strange is, I'm out in the middle of nowhere and they had perfect Wi-Fi when I was there.
You're
Really?
kidding.
No.
Really?
Really?
No
Oh,
way.
see,
Better
you know
Wi-Fi
why?
in
Do
the
you know
Mentawai
why?
Islands than my own house.
Wow.
Do you know why?
Because you were probably
They've-
the only person on the Wi-Fi. Then.
Wait.
That's probably right.
They've proven that if given the choice between a toilet, running water, and a cell phone to connect the outside world, they'll take the cell phone.
Wow.
Really?
Tribes.
That's how
Right.
much we
People
need to be
want
connected.
connect socially
Yeah.
'Cause you
more
can just
than
order
more than go
water.
to the bathroom.
So interesting because I
That's
always take
easy.
the cell phone into the toilet.
Well, there you go.
That must be an LA thing.
I think that's just you, Joe. None of us can relate to that.
All righty.
Number 3, laugh at yourself.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite. I
Okay,
love to
so
laugh at myself.
all right, so true story where I wasn't laughing and then I was.
Okay.
So we get on it's a riverboat cruise through the Danube, which is not actually blue.
Was it a 3-hour cruise?
No, it was like weeks. And they gave us square pillows. First of all, you're on a riverboat cruise. The rooms are tiny. The pillows were square, and I like to put one pillow this way and then one pillow this way to lean back and read. Mm-hmm. But they were all square, so they just kept folding in on it like origami pillows. Mm-hmm. And pretty soon I was throwing pillows and screaming, what the hell is with the... My husband gets to a point where he just looks at me and he's like, I really need to just tap out. I can't.
I'm tapping out.
I'm ineffective.
Going to the bar.
Yeah, and then later it's hilarious that I was throwing square pillows around. But in that
You found the
moment,
humor
you
in it,
just
yes.
you just need. Why can't I have a rectangular pillow?
All right.
And then when I went to the
Note
front
to
desk the
self,
next day and
no
asked for
rectangular
rectangular pillows, I was not the first person to have done so. They were like, "We need another rectangular one."
Okay.
Yeah,
That's funny.
but yeah, laugh at yourself.
Laugh at
Yeah.
yourself.
Sooner rather than later.
I was in Beirut Harbor on the USS Incheon aircraft carrier. and
You have stories.
I do have a lot of. This is a cool story. And then the Marine paratroopers picked us up at the airport in a blackout, and we had to go through minefields in a Jeep. And they didn't tell us this on the way in, but
They
get to
kept
the
that
aircraft-
from you.
They kept
Yeah.
that from me.
Wasn't
And
in
we
the
landed-
brochure.
It wasn't in the brochure. We landed by chopper onto all these aircraft carriers, and the USS Incheon. I was posing for a photo, and my high heel went off over into the sea. That was funny, you know.
You're kidding.
And the whole time I had one high heel. I had to like hop around on one
Oh,
foot.
my
It was
God.
really gone.
With Johnny Grant.
Johnny
Yeah, it was
Grant,
gone into the
Mr.
ocean.
Hollywood, Mayor of Hollywood.
And you can't drink on aircraft carriers, so we had the admiral was like in McHale's Navy. He was like, "Let's go have martinis on the little boat."
Oh, you go out in the dinghy.
yeah, in
dinghy.
the
for,
dinghy. We all had
for
mixed
martinis. Yes.
It was interesting.
Okay, we want you to drop as many names as possible in the course of this show, and we want them drunk and disorderly. Number 4, stash extra cash. Where do you stash cash, Greg, when you go to some place that doesn't have maybe a bank?
Can I tell you where I stash the cash?
No.
Actually,
think you can.
let's see. I do bring extra cash with me.
Mm-hmm.
I put it in a sock.
Are you paying attention, thieves?
Yeah,
Listen.
I was just going to say, now anyone who's ever going to be on a business trip with me knows where my cash is. I put it in a sock and I sort of roll it up and I
And
just
then where do you put the sock, Greg?
I put this just in my luggage
Yes.
and make it appear as if it's just,
It's just
a
a
couple
sock.
folded socks because no one likes to steal socks.
And he writes no
I'm
money
just gonna
here.
say.
You know,
on
you
top
should
of the
do?
sock, just
No one's
And
going to
that's
go
a
near
great
your
idea.
socks. Yeah.
Think about or your underwear.
Put
They don't
dirty
s-
Kleenex like you've blown your nose.
Oh,
That's good.
Oh, my
wow.
God.
That's good.
That's
That's
good.
good.
Yeah.
Red herrings.
I've had a lot of things taken from my luggage throughout my travels. Like I bought a Burberry scarf once in Barcelona, Spain, and when I got home, it was suddenly gone.
No.
Taken, customs.
I'm heartbroken.
Someone just took it. Yeah.
Did you go all Liam Neeson on the guy?
You mean I will find you?
I will find you.
No,
kill you.
But I ended up having to buy like a $20 imitation Burberry scarf because that I wasn't going to go back out and buy another $300
Yeah.
scarf. So that's another travel tip. If it's not on the list, don't bring your most expensive stuff when you travel.
Okay.
It would be stupid. Your expensive jewelry. I know you want to wear this certain cool leather jacket when you're walking in Europe so your selfie looks really cool. Forget it.
Or a really nice high heel.
Or whatever. Yeah, I mean, because you'll lose it
One high
because
heel.
you're just asking for someone to take it, whether it's in a hotel room
Right.
or in customs, when you're going through the luggage thing. And I've learned throughout the years that I just bring very, very simple clothes, no jewelry, and it's just a great way to travel.
Jack, write that down. No high heel.
No high heels.
Yes.
All right,
or
Jack.
one high heel.
Has
if
anyone
you're-
ever been to the airport flying in from Athens to Lebanon?
No.
The Athens
no.
airport where there's one of the hangars, one of the glass buildings shakes and shatters. So we were all lining up to go on to this flight to Lebanon, and all the people were yelling, saying to me, "Did you make your will out yet?" They were like teasing me,
Yeah.
and I was scared to death. And suddenly, everyone's on the tarmac with all their luggage, and we hear this loud crash, like a huge explosion. And everyone ducks down, and I just stood there screaming. It turns out they were ducking down just to pick up their luggage.
Oh my God.
You had to be there.
Yeah.
I was laughing at myself.
Wow.
Because a
You were
plane had flown
laughing.
in and
Schwartz laughing at yourself.
And
It-
it
Oh,
was,
yeah.
it made
Tip number 4.
sounds.
Well, yeah. Once you're predisposed to believe that anything could be the end
a
of the
bomb.
world. It
Depends
sounds
on where
like
you are. You wouldn't do that if you were in Pacoima, for example.
No, you'd be like,
be like,
that's just
not a big
it
deal.
must be garbage
Flying
day.
into a war zone. Is a little different.
Jack, would you read number 5?
You betcha I will. And I'm just going to stall until I get there. Number 5, meet local people.
I do that.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally get this
Oh,
one.
I love local people.
Yeah.
Over half my jobs are always putting me with a local guide, someone who grew up there, male or female. And when you go with them, you get to meet all their friends. You get to go to their favorite restaurants. Right. You don't do really touristy stuff.
Right.
You get to see the touristy stuff, but then you get to all these sort of the
real cool
second tier cool bars and cafes and
where the locals go.
Exactly.
And you return the favor, right? When people come to you.
I never return favors. No. But of course. Anyone who's wants to come to Los Angeles, you can come stay with me. But it's
and what's
really,
that address
really
again, Greg?
Yeah, right.
Well,
LAX Airport, Terminal 5.
My husband and I really like to walk, and I want to see how the people live. And that's just how I've always been. And people will say, did you go to this museum or that museum? I would much rather spend a day walking through neighborhoods than going to a museum, however great the museum is. And of course, I appreciate the museum, but I really, when I'm somewhere, I almost don't want to be inside too much. I want to see and feel and get a sense of what it's like to live there.
Yeah. I remember a local guy in Paris told me once, no matter what you do in Paris, make sure you bring your camera wherever you go. And I'm like, okay, so I would bring my camera on days that were completely rained out. I'm not going to take one photograph today because it's all pouring rain. Well, guess what happened on that day? It cleared. A man was walking by with a purple beret and a French baguette, something straight out of a movie. And as
not a German baguette.
No,
Could you be
baguette.
any more French?
Yeah. And as the clouds cleared, I could see just the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Oh.
And so I got a shot of a Parisian man walking with clouds and the Eiffel Tower. That ended up being the center spread of the article.
Can we find that online?
Oh yes.
Just Google Parisian man with baguette.
Yeah. Purple baguette.
By Gregory Schell.
By Gregory
But anyway, no, it was such an amazing moment. And from that point on, I always bring my camera with me, even if it's just a pocket camera.
Sure.
So even if I go out at night, my job's over, I don't have to bring my pro stuff. I'll always bring a pocket camera because you never know what you're going to run into.
All right, I think of the iPhone camera. I mean,
they're
great.
Just as good a camera as a pocket
They're
camera.
amazing.
We want to know what kind of gear you're packing and how you would compare it to everyone who walks around with a camera in their pocket now.
Well, obviously most pro photographers nowadays have a big DSLR, right? Whether it's a Nikon or a Canon. Multiple lenses.
That's digital, single
single
lens reflex.
Yeah, you got it. DSLR. Now, for me, I prefer Canon. If you were to take Nikon images and Canon images and kind of look at them side by side, you really can see a difference.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, the Nikon is more of a true image to what your eye's looking at, and I think the Canon image is more like storybook.
Nikon forever, baby.
Yeah, and I'm more of a Canon guy.
I inherited
Like
5
testing.
Canons.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Do you use them? Are they film cameras?
I don't know how yet. I'm gonna
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna.
Well,
learn.
and I
Gotta get together
Did you
with Greg.
train us in a
Yes.
class?
And so the whole point is I've gotten it down to where I can carry one Pelican case,
Okay.
and it's got 3 different lenses plus the camera body. And now I figured out something really cool.
Okay.
So now what I do is I freight my camera to the hotel, to the destination I'm going to before I fly.
Okay.
So I do not have to carry camera gear on a plane.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because
Good.
it saves the client a lot of money because, that's $75 sometimes, round trip to take your camera gear along with all your other checked in bags and whatever. So you can freight it. And just freight it a week before your trip. And all of a sudden I get in my hotel room. There's my camera gear.
Do you have any anxiety about it getting lost?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I
But-
always
So great
freak out over
insurance, though.
that. Yeah.
And
That's
what's your
great
pocket
insurance.
camera? What's your pocket camera?
It's another Canon.
Another Canon.
It's one of the high-end ELPH cameras. You've
Got
seen
it.
those little point and shoots. Those are great.
Yeah.
They've gotten them up to 20 megapixels and it shoots full HD video. So I can walk around and, shoot video and do interviews with people and the audio's great and it's amazing. Yeah, it's this little tiny camera.
Do you ever use your phone for anything?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever.
So you
Yeah.
don't love the iPhone. You don't have an iPhone.
Well, I just don't use my phone camera because I already have a pocket camera,
Yeah.
which is
Right.
much better. Now, most people think it's silly to carry your phone and a camera because your phone has a camera.
Not if you
Right.
know what you're doing and you know what you want.
Well, is it that the lens is better, that much better on the pocket camera?
That's correct.
Yeah.
This lens is this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, when I went to the TED Talk, you know how they have the TED Talks in Long Beach, sometimes it comes to Long Beach. I watched Sergey, one of the brothers who started Google. He said 10 years ago that the entire race of cell phone cameras is all going to be based upon the evolution of the camera on the cell phone.
The entire race?
The entire like war
race.
between camera race.
Oh,
Sorry.
I thought you
Not
meant
ethnicity. But
No. Sorry, I got to be careful with that word. I meant the
camera race.
the camera race.
That's so racist.
Yes. I do not want the audio race. I want the camera race. It's the third Reich of the cameras.
Racism is
the
a
locals
vitamin
love
D
them.
deficiency.
But most people.
I meant the battle for the best camera. The race, the evolution, the
Somebody
the
get a
race is
shovel.
on
somebody give
and
me a
here comes
thesaurus
Friday.
is what I need.
Hey, most people that everyone has a cell phone with a
Right.
camera. Even that camera, they probably don't use it correctly, or they don't use it to its optimum.
That's true. And in fact, now they sell all these kinds of third-party attachments.
Little add-ons.
Right, add-ons. Like you can make a fisheye lens, you can double extend your zoom. If you want to get really technical with your little phone, you can have all these little things in your pocket, but why have all that?
Just get a little elf
Just get a little elf.
or an actual.
It's the time of the year.
That's not
The race of the
politically
camera
correct.
Little elf.
has been
So is
invoked.
this when we were talking about meeting local people? Is that what was happening?
Get a
Well,
little
it
elf.
kind of like
a little
we're
elf.
going back to local people.
All
That's-
right.
yeah.
Are you
ready for me to take a
picture now?
The next one,
Behave.
Jack, number 6.
Number 6. Once again, as I stall, it's very easy. It's pack a scarf.
Pack a scarf.
Well, unless you're Greg, because
Well,
you're
wait a
going to
minute.
Get it stolen.
I picked up a Burberry scarf in, I think I was in Barcelona.
That's really bossy. That's bossy
Joe.
to tell
It's
us to
great.
pack a scarf.
I know. That's so
how dare
mom-like.
they?
It might be
Yes.
chilly. You really should.
Right. Bring a shawl.
Bring a shawl.
I used to
It
prescribe to
dips
that.
into the 70s.
Not anymore.
7, Jack or Joe.
Go ahead, Joe.
Observe daily life.
Oh.
That doesn't mean stalk people.
Okay.
Oh.
I know it sounds
You lost me now.
Darn.
like you should just follow people around, like you're local.
Well,
I'm
that's-
still
that's-
here.
That's really tied
I
to
met,
meet.
I met a Scotsman at the
local
bar
people.
in Barcelona.
Observe.
Okay, this is a good
Oh, here
story.
comes a limerick. It's a
Did he
limerick.
have a scarf with him?
He had a Burberry scarf.
He was wearing a kilt, and we hung out for a few
Whoa,
days.
okay.
So was that your
Before I
opening?
got
Like,
sober 24 years
was
ago.
your opening remark complimenting his nice
Yes.
kilt?
Nice
Okay.
kilt.
So what you came in with?
I said something like, "I love your kilt," and he said, "I said, what was that stupid thing I said 4 times ago?" And he would make it 5 times ago. What we did.
Oh, he sounds like a smart aleck. Yeah.
We hung out for about.
So
5
then
days.
so once you meet someone,
For about
then
5
at what
days.
point do you say?
I think I want to
Wait a
hear
minute.
more about this.
We
story.
hung out for 5 minutes. It was 5
Yeah.
days.
we had a fun time. Yeah.
Okay.
Like at what point in the meeting a local do you say, "Hey, what are you doing for dinner?" Like how does it get to that point?
That's what I open with.
Where
usually.
now you're making plans. You open with that.
Actually,
We went to Madrid for dinner. And
Jack
went to the
opens with, "Are you
Prado.
going to finish that?" I'm
As
sorry.
I'm
Go
chewing
ahead,
it,
Lydia.
you know.
Those are the days. I don't know. It's just when
just
you're a
did.
woman alone in Barcelona.
Apparently,
Barcelona.
Scotsmen find you very easily.
Yeah.
Well, how did you happen to be a woman alone in
I
Barcelona?
was in. Remember, I told you I was in Monte Carlo, and then I went, and I met Ivana Trump there
Wow.
Oh, no
Wow.
kidding. Wow.
during her divorce.
Yeah.
A lot of stories. And then I went to Milan,
Was this part of U.S.? No, this was tennis. Or
Tennis
wasn't
tournament.
USO. Okay, gotcha.
and I was
tennis.
researching a book. I was writing a book on Stalin and Trotsky, and Trotsky's assassin lived in Barcelona.
That's right.
At
This
the
is
time.
this subject fascinates you.
Yeah.
I'm
So I was
feeling
writing
very
this big-
unaccomplished all of a sudden.
The book still is being written many years later. I had to drop the book when I got the role as a dumb blonde. So the new book is called Hiding My Brain in My Bra. But so this was fun. It was just a whole escapade all around Monte Carlo and Milan and then meeting people in Barcelona just by myself.
Wow.
It was fun. It was taking the trains,
Yeah.
walking up and down the Passage. and
Lovely.
So you
I
have
fell
to
in
you have to
love.
trust your with the town or with the person.
I fell in love with this guy. The
I want to hear
Scotsman.
this story.
No,
oh,
it's
The
oh,
five
you
gay
fell in
guy.
love with a Scotsman.
Yeah.
Okay, what was
Oh,
his name?
wow.
Ewan Purves.
For a second, I thought you weren't going to have it. And I was like,
Curves.
Curves.
Purves.
Did
Of
you
the
know his
person.
last
Of
name?
Of course.
Of the
Did you know
race.
his last name before you fell in love?
No.
Because you can't write your name with that on your notebook.
Right.
Let's change the subject. What about you?
How about you guys?
yeah, here's
Hey,
another
Greg, have you
question.
ever fallen in love traveling?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. A lot of times they'll pair me with a writer on these trips. So someone's writing an article about a city. Let's say it's Dubai okay, which is or
And
Dublin.
let's just say her name is Cindy.
And let's just say her name was Marjorie. Yeah. So and so every now and then I'll get paired with a single female writer, and that always presents a conundrum because if I'm attracted to her, then I'm like, oh God, okay, how do I professionally handle this situation, but also kind of drop hints that maybe, hey, we could turn this into a romantic trip. You know?
You could always say, I have a pocket cannon.
Yes, and it's
I have a
ready
little
to
elf
roar.
in my pocket.
There's a little elf
That's
in my
true.
pocket.
Yes, elf in my
Look
pocket.
at the sunset.
Yes.
Right.
So it's come up a couple of times. I can honestly say in the past decade, it's only happened a few times,
27.
Right.
give or take. Yeah,
Just a handful. I get up early.
just a handful. Yeah. I talk to locals.
That's why I wake up early.
yeah, exactly. Wake up early and always carry a scarf.
All right, this
yeah.
number 8 is a good one for
Okay.
you, Greg. Back up everything.
Oh.
So what's your backup
Always.
plan as you're traveling and photographing? Like, because you have large images, do you have to bring external hard drives?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing that's strange now is we live in a very sort of like Instagram world now where people want their media now. You know, it's like, oh, the company doesn't want to wait for me to get back from Dubai to see an image of the Burj Khalifa, tallest building in the world. They want it tonight so they can put it on their Instagram. So usually what happens is I'll go out all day, I'll shoot the Burj from all these different angles, then race back to the hotel, upload it, do all the color correction, do all the, the fixing of the photo, and immediately send it back to the US or whoever's hired me, and they'll have it up in their Instagram like that second.
Do you use Lightroom?
I do use Lightroom and Aperture.
Love Lightroom.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I
they're
like
both
Lightroom.
Do you use
great.
Dropbox or something for your...
Yeah, we use Dropbox, or maybe sometimes these companies will have their own FTP sites, and I can just upload straight to them. But I've noticed that's more and more increasing as we move forward in the future. As we race to the future, we these companies want their media now. They don't want to wait a week.
And what are you sending them? Are you sending them huge JPEGs or what?
I'm sending them raw files.
You're sending them raw?
Raw files. Yeah, they want it as big as
That's
possible.
heavy, yeah.
Because then they can shrink down
Right.
and it'll look super sharp. Or if they want to blow up to like a poster size, it won't pixelate.
So on your little phone, you get the Instagram. It could have been a poster size
wow.
thing, but in fact, it's
It's just
a
this
little,
tiny little thing.
You
Yeah.
think they'd almost want to? Well, what do I know? Never mind.
But then, in going back to backing up, so when you're even if you're working on those photos and you send it to them locally for you, do you back them up to a cloud, or you back them up to another drive so that you have them?
An external drive.
Does your elf carry the drive, or do you carry the drive?
I carry the elf and the drive.
Oh, okay.
So
But he ships them ahead, so it's
that's right. No, I carry. Yeah, no, but it's
Ladies
to your
and gentlemen,
point.
you have to watch from the beginning.
you do.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose the thread.
Yeah.
He opens the package and the elf's like,
Boy, that was a long flight. I know what you mean.
That
Okay,
is
see
one
you later.
chatty elf.
Yeah. No, but yeah, to his point though, yes, I have all the photographs on my laptop, and then they also exist on an external FireWire drive. Just in case anything happens to here, I've got them here.
Right.
I personally don't like the cloud because so many people have had their material ripped off the
Okay.
cloud.
Seriously?
So security
people
is
can.
a problem.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Oh, hackers can get into that like that.
Wow.
We
didn't
all know
know
stories
that.
about celebrities who've had naked pictures.
So wait, which cloud? You mean the cloud?
Any cloud.
Or, or Carbonite?
So
or
he
Any
means
cloud.
Dropbox or iCloud.
I have
Any
Drop-
company
I have huge
that's-
Dropbox.
Don't tell
Terabytes.
people.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
I mean, and the funny thing is I had that, Far Shore poster. I made a poster for my documentary I made, and someone in Costa Rica saw it. I'm like, how did they get it in Costa Rica? Well, someone had hacked into my cloud, stole the poster, and then started printing them and selling them at a surf
Oh,
shop
no, you're
in
kidding.
Costa Rica.
Wow.
Now, I could fly down to Costa Rica and try and get the local government to set a lawsuit against this person.
yeah,
but I
you
mean,
talk
come
to
on.
the locals. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So ever
but
since
the
that
government
happened,
official has the poster behind him in his desk.
Yeah.
So
I just decided, you know what? I'd rather
Behind his desk.
Yeah.
take a chance.
All
you
right.
know?
You're a professional photographer. But
far as I know.
number 9 is take lots of photos. So I want to go around and see how other people take photos
Okay.
and share their travel experiences. How do you?
I take lots of photos on my iPhone, and what we do, if we were just on a family vacation, we start a share on Apple, and so that way everyone can add to it. So then we share all of the photos amongst us, and for the losers who are back home as well.
Oh,
Right.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. Jack, what do you do?
I'm a big photo taker. I used to be the guy who lugged his DSLR around. I haven't been doing that of late. I've been just using my iPhone, but I do love to document everything. I'm a photo taker by nature.
Mm-hmm. Lydia?
I take photos of everything all the time.
Yeah.
But mainly I love the sunsets and the sunrises. And the other day I was in Rancho Cucamonga doing a celebrity AIDS bowling tournament. And I've never been there.
You are so busy.
There's a certain charitable group that I'm with all the time, and we do a lot of stuff. And I figure I'm going to enjoy this drive, find a new place. I figured it's going to be some podunk place. I had no idea how beautiful this place was.
Yeah.
The foothills of the San Bernardino Mountains, green. And so I stopped and took a picture of some birch trees and just this gorgeous light coming on the green lawn. And I just love nature and butterflies. I'm obsessed with butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
So I stop and take pictures. I think you have to stop and enjoy every moment of life. And that's what traveling is so much
beautiful.
fun.
That is beautiful.
God, hers was so much better than the rest of ours.
There was no elf in her story.
Yeah. I can say one
No
thing
German
about
accent.
that.
Yeah.
So Ansel Adams, the famous photographer who took Yosemite and all of the famous,
He was pretty good.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
He sort of predicted that this sort of machine gun type photography was coming. If you read his treatise on photography, he knew that there was going to be a time where the camera could take 100 pictures in a minute. And he never agreed with the machine gun type theory of making art. He always went out and he would spend an entire hour setting up and he would take one exposure.
Wow.
That's it.
And an 8x10 at that.
Yeah, one.
Yeah.
Because he believed that it all happened the magic all happens at one time.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen when you fire off 50 different shots and you just kind of pick the one that is the
so
magic.
it's more about knowing which photo to take.
He said you would see it in your head before he would expose it. So he would look and he'd look out at a full moon rising above Yosemite Valley and he'd be on the top of his truck and he'd set it all up and he'd get under the thing.
Joe's like that too. He'll do a promo read and he'll only give them one read.
One read, that's it. I'm done.
The magic happens once for
right,
Joe.
exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing
So
with
anyway,
Ansel is he was being paid by the hour. So
smart. Yeah, see, he was
Smart.
very smart. Yeah. But that's what he thought about photography. So I think it's important to have both of these ideas in your head as you're going out looking for a perfect image. You can kind of like search for it and kind of think about it in your head and then all of a sudden kind of see it happening. Like maybe the sky is starting to change color and it's starting to reflect on a low tide beach or something. And all of a sudden, okay, here it is. This is what I've been waiting for an hour.
So what I did is I had that moment in DC, if you guys have this link.
I love that picture.
And I didn't bring my big Canon DSLR because it was raining. And then so all I had was my phone and all of a sudden the clouds broke. And I had that moment. So what I did is I handed my phone to a stranger. Boom.
let's see.
Oh, but look at that is
beautiful.
my favorite
Oh, I
picture.
remember that.
Amazing,
Very
yeah.
nice.
And the stranger, he said, and he's really not strange to people who know him.
So thanks for the phone, lady.
He asked me, "Do you want your feet?"
Do you have any scarves?
Yeah.
He said, "I knew that this guy was going to be the right guy because he was walking around taking artistic photos." And he said, "Do you want your feet in the photo?" He knew that I cared about how it was framed, and I said yes because I think when you're taking pictures of people, unless you're doing a portrait or mid-level, it should be the whole. It shouldn't cut off at the knee.
Yeah,
More
you're
importantly,
right.
she had $800 shoes
That
on.
is
She
a
was going to have
gorgeous
those things.
Yeah.
on.
And by the way,
You have to, go
the
ahead.
thing that you're forgetting and you're not telling us is that was Ansel Adams.
And his name,
It was
his name
Reincarnated.
He's being paid by the hour.
was Ansel.
By the way, I have one story where my a guy tried to run with my camera when I
boy.
did that. So I was in Philadelphia and I was right near the Rocky Balboa statue. And so there was this guy.
Dun-dun-dun.
Yeah. And
You have to run. You have to run up steps.
Well,
That's
this
your
guy-
job in Philadelphia.
this guy, and I
Lot of running.
sort of should have known this by looking at him. He seemed kind of off, and he's like, "Hey, man, you want your picture next to Rocky?
I'm
Come on,
right
man,
next
I'll
to
take
you.
your
This
picture."
is not funny anymore. Okay.
No, if he's offering, that's not the guy.
And so I took my DSLR off and I gave it to the guy.
No.
And he's like, back up. And he's like, keep getting,
keep going.
keep going.
going.
Yeah.
This is going really well, Greg.
And so then he, so I got my pose, right next to Rocky Balboa.
man.
And he's like snapping off pictures, and he goes, "Now turn around
Oh,
and look at him. Everybody loves this shot, man.
And take
Everybody
off the
loves this
scarf.
shot."
It doesn't work
How
in
old
this
were
show.
you?
We're
Like
all
16?
here.
That's
We're watching
unbelievable.
your
This
life,
happened like a couple
and
years
we're
ago.
yelling, "Greg, no!"
And right as soon as I turned around, I said, "This is not a good idea." I could hear him running
and laughing at the top of his voice.
Right now, the funny.
Okay, so wait a minute.
So I went into Rocky Mode.
You didn't let him get away.
Oh my God.
I was on the track team at Birmingham High School.
Yeah.
I ran after
Yeah.
this guy.
He was the only person on the team, but
And
still.
we ran all the way down that fairway, and it's a long fairway. I don't know if you've been to Philadelphia, but it's this long, like tree-lined street, right, to get to those steps. And he's like, "Oh man, come on!" I'm like, "You get it, I get it." So finally, he just threw my camera and split, and I got my camera, and of course it had broken.
Yeah.
Broke the camera body, broke the lens. I lost the
Jeez.
whole camera, but I learned a very valuable lesson.
Insurance. No.
Yeah, well, just don't like happily hand your stuff over to
Don't
someone.
talk to locals. That's the lesson.
And just don't trust
Don't talk
everyone.
to locals.
Just don't trust
See,
everyone.
that's too bad. You're a trustworthy guy.
And and I love Philadelphia. I don't want to bash Philadelphia.
Brotherly
'cause it's a
love.
great place.
But
Brotherly love.
we remember this stuff.
Okay.
Number 10 is there's always a way. So I guess that means don't let yourself get too frustrated. If you want to try to get to a thing, you can get to a thing. Number 11 is smile and say
hello.
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 Number 12 is
In New
splurge.
York City, though, once I was walking down the street,
Uh-oh.
and a guy said, "Smile at me." I wasn't smiling, and he goes, "Smile at me." It was like one of those molester types that comes up to women and says, because I was taught not to smile at strangers, but then I started smiling at strangers.
Oh, wow.
Oh, did
I
he
don't
mean
know.
it in a nice way, or
No, it was kind of a
because I do
creepy.
not like it when when men say to women, smile, because no one walks around smiling.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
And-
I know.
I do.
Yeah, that was Ansel Adams who did that, right?
He got there early.
Right. Okay. Sure.
Number 13 is
Number 13, keep an open mind.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I'm open to that.
Yeah.
Number 14 is try couch hopping.
Try
So
what? Couch hopping?
yeah, pretend
Yeah.
you're Superman and put on a cape and then just hop from couch to couch. No, what they mean is that like if you're young, there's like a whole couch hopping culture
Oh.
where you do it for free.
Right.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Kind of like, sure, places to stay like, not Airbnbs, but this
Hostels.
is like a hostel.
Hostel.
That's the word I was thinking of, Jack.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
if you're in this sort of
want my money.
subculture, people stay on your couch, you stay on people's couch, and no money's exchanged, but you show
Yeah.
people around, you get to know folks.
It's timeshare for cheap people.
Gotcha.
Is what it is. Okay.
Number 15 is volunteer.
Oh, that's what Joe says I'm doing when I do his lawn work. That's just really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's right.
Well, I just did that. That was hurricane relief in North Carolina.
Oh, you did?
Talk
Oh,
about
nice.
that.
All right, so I just got back from North Carolina. I did 3 days of hurricane relief and cleanup while I was there. I flew into Wilmington, which was the town that was completely devastated by Hurricane Florence. But the funny thing was, a friend of mine, Stark Howell, and I had these tickets booked weeks before the hurricane had even appeared on the radar. We had
So you're
gone
saying
there.
you caused the hurricane?
Well, we had gone there on a surfing trip. Okay, that was our idea, and all of a sudden, the storm showed up, and I saw it tracking right into Wilmington, and I said, "Oh no!" And all of a sudden, it just got devastated. It just completely shut the power off, and it was, down trees and down power lines and mud and debris everywhere. And so I asked my friend Stark. I said, "Stark, well, what are we going to do with these tickets? Should we just go and help?" And he's like, "Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
That's
Let's
nice.
just
That's
change
very cool.
change the thesis of our trip." So
Wonderful.
we went.
Yeah.
And we immediately volunteered, and it was backbreaking work. We had to shovel a bunch of mud and debris and bucket brigade all the stuff to the higher street and clear this one road so that the donation trucks could get in and get all the supplies to all the people upriver who were completely stranded.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, I remember, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I looked at Stark when we were doing it, and I said, Stark, we are making a real difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like giving your money to the American Red Cross or
Right,
someplace where you have no idea where this money's
No,
going to go.
you're rolling up your sleeves
We
and
are-
you're there.
We
on
are
site.
clearing a
Yeah.
road
Mhm.
so that the truck can come and deliver the fresh water so that now it can go into a Zodiac and get zipped up the Cape Fear River and delivered to these poor families that can't even leave their flooded homes.
Yeah.
That is making a difference. And it
that's
was
awesome.
like, cue the patriotic music. So it was like, it was amazing.
Were you able? Did you take photographs as well?
Oh,
or no?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was the other funny thing. A woman showed up as we were working, and she started talking to me, and I realized she was a news reporter. She's like, "Oh, can we mic you and get you on the Channel 5 News?" I said, "Sure." So I ended up doing like a 5-minute segment on their local Raleigh, news, and I told her the story, the same story I just told you, that we had come out, two Californians had come out on a surf trip. Storm had a different idea, so here we are doing relief and cleanup, and it just felt so good.
That's amazing.
It was really rewarding, and now that I've done that kind of work, I think I'll do more of that in the future, and I encourage everybody else to do it too. If you can.
Very good, Greg.
Yeah.
So
number 16 is pack earplugs.
What's that?
Do you pack?
I'm sorry.
Joe.
Or put gum in your ear.
Yeah. Joe commits.
Joe.
That's the thing. Joe commits.
What does everyone here pack that you're going to need that maybe most people don't need, but you need, like cough drops or earplugs or
Donuts.
Just something that makes you more comfortable away from
Spearmint
home?
gum.
See, I'm
Gum?
just cutting up now.
I know, Joe,
Yeah,
but I
I'm
still
sorry.
I love you
So
because you're
what do
adorable.
I bring? Well, Jack and I both, when we go somewhere, we work on the road. We do voiceover work and things like that. So actually, what I bring with me is a microphone, a little USB interface that goes into the computer, and we can set up and do our work wherever we are.
Yeah.
So I always have that with
So that's
me.
a whole
kind of
extra piece of
microphone?
luggage. Sennheiser
Actually-
416.
It's a Sennheiser
That's what
voice.
it's
Use
what most
a-
people do on the road.
A blue Yeti? No.
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 I mean, they're great for certain things, but the 416.
This is more specific for the type of work we do. A 416 is it's a shotgun mic. So it's what you would see on the end of a pole, really.
Right.
Like if we're
Like
going
boom
to
too close
the
for
one I
comfort,
had
yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Boom
Yeah.
in a roads, a couple roads.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, roads are very similar.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I always bring a pair of swim trunks.
Okay.
On every single trip I do, even if I'm going to Iceland or a place where you wouldn't think of bringing swim trunks, because if I'm in a hotel that has a hot tub,
The jacuzzi.
or if I, want to jump into a lake, or if I want to go on a run, if I feel like I've eaten enough North Carolina fried food to last me a year, and I need to go run in the morning, I'll put the trunks on. And so I always make sure I have at least one pair of swim
If you
trunks.
need to pose like Rocky.
Exactly. And I have to run after someone
Yes.
who's stolen my camera. Yeah.
What do you bring, Lydia?
Same thing. I always bring a bathing suit in case there's a jacuzzi
Ooh.
because I love hot tubs. And I always bring spearmint gum to pop my ears on.
There you go.
And a
That's
rolling,
a good one.
yeah,
That's
and
good.
a rolling small carry-on.
Ah.
Make sure it's rolling.
What do you bring, Louise?
Well, I don't really read magazines in real life because they pile up. But I just read books. But on a trip, I'll just go and buy all the magazines that I never really usually buy,
That's fun.
and I'll just read.
Yeah.
I'll just read magazines, then I'll leave them behind on the
Teen
plane.
Beat.
Oh,
For the-
right.
Like
Yeah.
things like it's just ridiculous. Like things like Wired. Like I'm kind of a geek, and then I'll read like the Atlantic or the New Yorker or things that with really long articles like Vanity Fair
Yeah.
Yeah.
that I
I
don't
love New
usually take
Yorker.
the time to
Yeah.
read.
Yeah. Here's another
Sounds
tip.
nice.
Here's another good tip. So if you don't bring any magazines of your own and you're only subject to whatever they have on the plane,
Right.
that's a good way to read something that you would normally never read.
Yes.
Like someone will hand you like Economy Today, something that I would never buy.
Right.
But guess what? I'll leaf through it and I'll find some interesting article on the stock market change.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now I'm educated on something I'd never would have picked up.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah,
you
that's
guys,
very
I
good.
just read some stuff about the DeVos Prince family that will freak you out.
That's what
Really?
I mean.
Yeah.
Blackwater.
Yeah, exactly.
Prince.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff you read on long flights. So
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly. Yeah.
Get Lost on Purpose.
Oh, that's the best.
Did you
Love
skip
that.
one?
Oh, did I, Jack? Was it your favorite?
No,
Oh, don't be
number-
afraid.
I
I
think it's an
can't because
important
I'm
one.
always afraid.
Don't
so
be afraid.
I think it's
be
an important
afraid.
one,
Don't
though.
be afraid.
it is okay, Jack. Please help
ahead.
me.
Well, I would say in the
speak to
sense
this.
that don't present yourself as a victim. Be intrepid because that's how you're going to meet people. I mean, all these other things kind of rely on you not being afraid. Be careful, but not afraid.
Right.
Right.
That's really important.
Never be afraid.
That's a great point.
Fear is false evidence appearing real.
Wow.
Like
Oh my God,
All right.
Lydia!
Holy
I need to just
anagram.
carry Lydia
You heard
around
it
with
here
me.
first.
Who needs an elf?
Jeez.
Get Lost on
Wow.
Purpose. That's something my husband and I do when we go walking. Because if we walk so far that we don't know our way back, now you can just get an Uber.
Yeah.
It's not an old
Yeah.
Golden Pond situation. You really are trying to get there.
Yeah.
We walked from
They do walk in circles. I have noticed that.
we walked from Georgetown to the National Cathedral, and it's do you know, Joe, how long that you lived in D.C.?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much uphill the whole
It is.
way,
It
and
is
I was like,
uphill,
no one
up
told me there'd be
Connecticut, I
hills.
think. Yeah. Mhm.
But DC is one of the best walking towns. There.
It's a great walking town, and on the way back, we walked past all the embassies. And we were sort of stalking the embassies to try because some of them are really stealth. Like some of them are just proudly, like Norwegia, whatever. I think it's called Norway.
Norwegia.
And then some of them have
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. This is a new embassy.
It's a brand new
Norwegia.
word.
And some of them have all of this fencing, but no sign that tells you what it is.
Right.
Oh, well, they're very, very guarded, but we don't know, they don't want you to know who they are.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the ones maybe that have more, that do not say the name of the country, that might be that the ambassador sleeps there. That's also his home. I could see why. Because some of them were like South Africa had a beautiful statue of Nelson Mandela, and then some of them were brown wrap. It's just a mansion, but I don't know who lives there. Maybe Batman's boss or something. Yeah.
The concierge at the Westin in Dublin, Ireland, it was like, have you ever been to Ireland before? And I said, no, I've never been here before. And he goes, oh, well, then maybe you've got to go to the Temple Bar. It's this one square mile. And he says, just go in the middle of the Temple Bar, close your eyes, spin around 3 times and just walk. You'll bump right into a bar. And when you go into the bar, all you have to do is raise your finger like this and put your finger like this.
Wow.
And I said, what does that mean? He goes, I want a pint of Guinness and a shot of whiskey.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
And so I said, really? I said, okay. So I walked into the bar and I
around.
like this
Spun
and
around.
this. Yeah, I spun around. Yeah. And I ran into a bar because it's all bars there. And I went like this and like this. And they gave me a shot of Jameson and a pint of Guinness.
Well, with that accent, they probably thought you were Liam Neeson once again.
Right.
Well, did you have to pay
Dead
for it?
ringer.
That's a good accent, by the way.
That was
thank
really
you.
good.
It
Did
was
you like
good.
that one?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, I'm
Actor
serious.
father, I
That's
think.
good.
We did.
Yeah.
I think we saw the Irish embassy.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw a lot of embassies.
Did you go up to the embassy and go like this?
I did not. I did not. I went up to Donald Trump and did that.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
They'll attack you.
Yeah.
They will.
Oh, but I will say
Secret
this.
Service will come
one
get
little
you.
small story based on
Yeah.
that. So we were up in Northern Ireland, Belfast, and I ordered a Jameson, and pretty much the entire bar was like, it stopped and looked at me. Ooh. And a guy's like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from California. Oh, you're from America. Okay.
Oh,
you don't order Jameson here. You
Wow.
order Bushmills.
Oh, wow.
You want a Catholic whiskey, you go back to Ireland.
Oh, that is
And so
good.
I didn't realize that when you're in a Protestant country, you order Protestant whiskey.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We don't have
Interesting.
Jameson on the wall here.
Okay.
And if you want Jameson, go back.
Wow.
But they had
Okay.
Lucky Charms.
Oh, yeah. They're magically delicious.
Magically delicious. Eat local food. So
Oh.
you did that.
You did that, yeah.
Yeah.
I did,
Yes, you
yes.
did.
Local food.
Yeah.
So
Lots of local
Greg, now now Lydia's been all over the world too on her
Yes.
in her travels. So I want to know from anyone who's done a lot of world traveling, what is the most courageous thing you've eaten?
That's a good question.
Fried monkey brains.
Ooh, come on now, Greg.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you?
Indonesia,
Greg,
yeah.
fried
Eek.
food? No.
It's fried monkey brains. It was a
Good one, Louise.
delicacy.
You did not eat a fried.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a delicacy in
You always
Indonesia.
You
bake
need to
brains.
broil
You know
it.
that.
And I remember,
Wow.
they wouldn't tell me what it was at first, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, it looks like I don't know. It looked like poi."
But you
know,
felt
like what you
smarter
get in
afterwards,
Hawaii.
didn't you?
Ooh, it looked like poi.
It kind of looked like poi. It was kind of pasty and sort of had the little. I don't know. It just gray.
Check,
Looked
please.
Gray.
Yeah.
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 And so I ate it, and it was crunchy and kind of like
Oh,
milky
my
inside.
God.
Crunchy. Why would a brain be crunchy?
Well, it's fried. Fried. And and then like halfway
You want
through
a
it,
Catholic brain if you're going to eat in this bar.
there you go.
Good.
a Catholic brain.
Oh,
my gosh.
God.
But it was like my most Anthony Bourdain moment.
Yeah,
I've
I was
ever
going to
had.
just say Anthony
pretty good.
Bourdain.
Yeah.
Wow.
I call
No one
that
can
show
top
Tony
him.
Eats because I can't.
Right.
You know what?
There's
I don't
just
think
too
we
much
can,
eating.
We can't come close to that. I don't know,
No.
Lydia.
Fried
maybe.
grasshoppers. I
Oh,
had
okay.
one.
There you
wow.
go.
Okay,
That's good.
okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Jack has
Santa
had
Monica
pizza.
Airport.
I've had pizza.
Wow.
But I'd say kimchi. That was surprising.
Was
To
that
have
one of the
real
rulers of
kimchi.
North Korea? No. You're not supposed to eat
Rodman
him.
and
Yeah,
I
but you
were
know
on
what?
tour,
You
so,
Rodman.
you know.
If you fry him, it's good. He goes
still
down.
good.
He
It goes down with a pint.
Exactly.
Say yes often is number
Yes.
20.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Oh yes.
Especially if you're talking to a Scotsman, apparently. Oh, did he go there?
Oh my goodness.
I took a
yes.
trip from Myrtle Beach last year.
She said yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was invited by this sheriff in Maynardville, Tennessee to drive from Myrtle Beach to Knoxville. And I just thought it was fun. I've never seen the South. I've never driven through the South. It was the height of the Charlottesville stuff going on.
Oh, boy.
It was kind of right after that, right?
Mhm.
And I thought, I'm going to go brave the South and see what it's really like. because I love Southern people.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone at the USS Incheon reunion were all inviting me everywhere. The admiral on the USS Incheon said, "Come to Savannah, stay with us.
Aw.
Yeah, it's
Come
beautiful.
to
Savannah's so pretty.
It is very
Kitty
beautiful.
Hawk and the
Ooh.
Outer Bank, and come
Yeah.
stay with us." And all these wonderful people.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I love the USO, and I love all
Yeah.
the Marines that we lost in Beirut in 84, 82, and all of these wonderful sailors. So I finally drove. I love getting lost. I love adventure, and I just drove by myself through Myrtle Beach to Knoxville, and I stayed in a log cabin with the sheriff and his family.
Wow.
And they
Yeah.
invited me to stay on their lake, and he knew Cousin Vern. Everybody on the whole mountain were his cousins.
Aw.
And this is the sheriff that was handling my stalker case. It was fun, and
Wow.
I love feeling independent that way
Yeah.
Yeah.
and eating the local
Very cool.
food, whichever.
Southern food.
Yeah,
is
I've heard the
Yeah.
kind of the converse of always saying yes is when they say it's easy to say no.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to be like, oh, I'm too tired, or it sounds dangerous, or
Right.
oh, it's easy to be a worrywart and say no to everything.
Mhm.
But if you stop doing that and start saying yes, your adventures will start multiplying.
Sure, you're opening
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
It's
You
an
meet
S
people
and.
everywhere. People are so.
Yeah.
People are
that's
the best,
the
yeah.
gold of the people.
So, did we take a look at Greg's photography?
I don't
Oh,
believe
let's
so.
do.
Can we
Let's
do
do
that,
that.
gentlemen?
Great.
Gorgeous.
Okay, can you narrate?
I
Greg?
can narrate. Yeah. So that is actually a selfie. I put the timer on.
Oh,
I'm
you're
the one with
kidding.
my arms spread
Stop
out.
it.
You ran
Yeah.
up there.
Yep.
What was it? A 30-second
What?
Like a minute.
minute?
Yeah, that's Lizard's Mouth, which is a beautiful rock formation above the Santa
Wow.
Barbara coastline. And I was with my two friends, and we just kind of ran up there and ended up getting in Santa Barbara Magazine.
Wow.
So that was
Aw.
kind of cool.
That's
That
very
is
cool.
really.
And I picked those because of you, Wheezy.
Aw,
Santa Barbara.
thanks,
Oh,
Greg.
Santa
Of course.
Barbara.
Yeah,
Were
Santa
those two
Barbara.
people
Santa
standing there by
Barbara.
themselves before you did that?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And my friend David at the bottom had a beer in his hand, so he was raising that up. And my friend Oliver was just kind of, I don't know what he was doing, touching himself.
So,
And I was.
how
and,
long was the exposure?
It was just a single frame snap.
Oh, you had a remote?
No, I just put it on a
Set it
1 minute
up.
timer
Oh, I
and
see.
ran
Yeah.
all the way up
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was sunset colors. Okay, so that's off the coast of San Diego. That's just a dolphin breaching the water glass. I took that from a stand-up paddleboard.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So I was on a stand-up paddleboard, and all
With
of a
a
sudden,
camera.
yeah, and all
What kind
these
of
dolphins.
what kind of rig do you wear when you're like in that situation?
That was actually the trusty point and shoot. I had just
Oh,
a tiny little
okay.
waterproof.
But do you have like a strap system that you?
No.
No.
Jack,
I lit-
it's a little personal.
I just had the waterproof camera
Talk to me after
case
the show.
and a little thing that attaches to the top of the board. And as soon as these dolphins were like breaching, I just happened to snap.
Gosh, that's an amazing picture.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Okay, that is the Australia. That's South Australia. That's the apostles, the 12 apostles.
Can you narrate this one in an Australian accent?
Sure, mate. Right there's
Hello, mate.
12 apostles, mate. It's got heaps of great nature down there. So if you take
Very
the
good.
Great Ocean Road, from Melbourne, you'll see just nothing but beautiful skyline and just like I said, it's just nature everywhere.
Nature.
Well done.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Nature.
Ooh.
Okay, so that is one of the most famous grist mills. That's
Mm-hmm.
located in Massachusetts. That is on every single Pepperidge Farm logo.
Oh, no
I
kidding.
was thinking Pepperidge Farm. when
That's
you said
it.
Farm.
That's
Remembers.
it. So,
Yeah.
so that is the very famous grist mill
Mm-hmm.
in Southborough, Massachusetts, which ended up becoming the headquarters for Pepperidge Farm and used on their logo as well.
Pepperidge
Wow.
Farm. Remember?
Oh, yes. I remember
Yes.
Is that
Okay.
Sean Connery?
Well, it sounded a little bit like
I
it.
was going to say, was Sean Connery the spokesperson?
Wait, his Irish accent, but
Yeah.
I see
Sorry.
what it is.
That's a
That was my
series.
best Pepperidge Farm accent.
That's the Red Fort in Agra, India.
Oh my gosh, look at
So just a series of doors, and I can't tell you how long I waited
I was going to ask.
because tourists were all over it.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had to wait for the absolute perfect fraction of a second when each person just ducked behind for like
Wow.
a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally, 5 seconds later, that entire hallway was filled with people
Filled with
taking
people.
selfies.
Wow.
So there's an example of patience.
Patience.
Back to number
Yeah.
one,
Well done.
Mm-hmm.
which is where you have to wait. And sometimes you can wait for 45 minutes to an hour to get this one moment.
I just yell scram.
Yeah, right.
Scram, yeah. Or one burst of a machine gun.
Yeah, exactly,
It would just
yeah.
clear it.
They
A
usually
whoopee
clear-
cushion.
Yeah, whoopee cushion.
Yeah. This ended up being in like United Airlines, like their in-flight magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Aw.
Welcome to Agra. Yeah, you know, an
Wow.
expose on coming to India.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Oh, that's
Sydney.
does anyone know where that
Is that Dubai?
That is Dubai.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Sydney. That's
No,
right.
that's-
Actually, there's a that little platform, which is actually for helicopter, isn't it?
That's correct.
They had, was it Agassi and
Tiger
someone
Woods.
up there? Tiger Woods was golfing, and they had Agassi
And
playing
S-
tennis.
Yeah, in
up there.
Sampras, I
yeah,
think.
in
up there.
Sampras, yeah.
So that's called the Burj Al Arab. It is the only 7-star hotel in the world.
7.
It
How
is
does
a
it get 7 stars?
7 stars?
Wait
a minute. Is there even a 6?
There is.
There
There is
is.
a 6. There are many 6 stars, but there's only one 7-star hotel,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
that's it. The
Wow.
Burj Al Arab. I think the smallest room you can get is $24,000 a night. That's the
Yeah.
cheapest
Ooh.
room there. And if you stay there, you get a Rolls Royce to take you around Dubai.
Well, there you go.
That's the Persian Gulf, which I swam in, which was amazing.
So if you go there and you go like this, that's $24,000.
That's $24,000 for your
Small.
shot of whiskey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But Dubai is an incredibly amazing place on the planet. You know, it was, well, don't get me started on the whole story, but yes, it's amazing.
I would love to go there sometime.
Is
That
all
would
the
be awesome.
land really just formed by?
It's nothing but a
Digging
desert.
and-
It was nothing but
yeah.
a desert.
All right, this looks like Watertown, Connecticut, where I grew up.
That's also in
Dubai, actually.
No, it's not Dubai. That's winter in New England.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
That
Dubai, but
is
and it's
a,
all
ch-
indoors.
Yeah, that's a church way up in Maine.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's
What
near
town?
near Acadia National Park.
Okay.
It's
Mhm.
called oh God, what is it called?
It's called You Can't Get There From Here.
Yeah.
What year was that church built? Do you know?
That church is from the 16th century.
Wow.
1500s.
Yeah. And it's in God, what is the name? Starts with a B. I can't remember.
Banga.
those of you playing at home.
Banga. No, it's not Banga.
No, but we fooled around, which was great.
Banga.
Oh.
I don't even know
Really?
it.
I
That's
don't
the
even
old
know
joke.
her.
Did you take a
Wait,
girl
what?
to
Banga?
Bangor?
No,
I fooled around.
Oh, my goodness.
That's up in Bethel.
pre-Me
Bethel,
Too
Bethel,
show.
Maine.
Bethel.
Bethel.
Bethel, Maine.
Bethel,
Right,
Bethel.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
So
funny
and-
how we get letters. My brain does that
Right.
too.
I do that
Yeah.
too.
So it's
First
Bethel,
letters,
Maine,
yeah.
which is beautiful, by the way.
Doesn't it sound like you have a lisp, though, when you say Bethel?
Bethel. Yeah. Barcelona.
Bethel,
Bethel.
Maine.
Yeah.
Barcelona.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it
But I
does.
just love the classic New England church with the white steeple and
Yes.
the fact that it was snow and stick trees. It's so beautiful to be there
Yeah.
in that part of the country.
And the stick people there are also quite
The stick people are nice, yeah. And by the way, that was during the winter vortex. I don't know if you guys remember
Oh, yeah,
that.
I do.
They had
It was in New York. Yeah.
108 inches of snow in one season.
Yeah.
Broke all the records since 1900.
Wow.
And that was like the one day that was like sunny.
So all the people at 109 inches were like, shoo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were like, jeez. Okay.
Oh, I love this.
Does anyone know where that is located?
In a
Oregon?
cabin
To me, it looks
in
like
the
Canada.
woods.
Very close.
Yeah.
Oh,
Vancouver?
It is the most
Michigan.
photographed cabin in the world.
Really?
As a Thoreau, Walden?
That is very close. No,
Okay.
that is the Burnside Lodge
Yeah.
in Ely, Minnesota,
Ah,
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
which is right on the Canadian border. So
they
you're
have
right
so
there,
many
Joe.
lakes.
Look at
Yep.
that. How
Yeah, and this is an area called the Boundary Waters. So you cannot take any electric boats. You only can canoe. So you get into your canoe and you paddle across from island to island, and then you got to portage your canoe and get to the next island.
Lydia is
Little
not a very
Lewis and
good
Clark
kayaker.
It's a little Lewis and Clark, yeah.
Ask
And-
Howard Cosell. She was on Battle of the
Howard
Network.
Cosell report.
She was on Battle of the Network
That's
Stars.
right.
Who was on your team?
Kayak around. Yeah.
Who was on your team?
Heather Thomas,
Heather
William
Thomas.
Shatner, Joan Collins.
Wow.
William Shatner was our team captain.
So a bunch of nobodies,
Yeah.
basically.
Bunch of nobodies.
Yeah.
And the two Heathers.
Why does William Shatner get to be the captain just because he gets that title on a
wouldn't
TV
get
show?
wet.
He had
By
the
the way,
shirt.
Come
Joan
on.
Collins and William Shatner would not get wet. And I had to do all the kayaking and all the water sports.
Oh,
It
my
was
goodness.
I
Yeah.
don't know how to
And so,
fly.
how did your team do?
I think we failed.
Oh, okay.
I think
All right.
CBS beat ABC.
Who's the
that
best at Battle of the Network Stars? Who's like the
Gabe
best?
Kaplan.
Was he
Lorenzo
good?
Lamas.
Gabe Lorenzo
Kaplan.
Lamas.
Was he good?
Even if it's not
He was
true,
good.
I
I
want to
thought he was
believe
good
it.
at. He was good at like poker. I thought
He's good at that, too.
they don't have poker in Battle of the Network Stars.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
What was your best sport?
The relay, running.
Okay, so you're pretty fast. All right, back to
Anyway,
Greg.
And now back to the canoes.
and now back to canoe.
By the way, knock, knock.
Who's
there?
there?
Canoe.
Canoe who?
Canoe come out and play with me?
Absolutely.
We can edit that out, right,
Captain.
All right,
guys?
thanks.
Right. So this
Hey, I'm big with kids. I'm just telling you.
so this particular cabin, because it's orange and it kind of sticks out, amongst the forest, is the most photographed cabin in the world. It's made like 10 National Geographic covers.
Wow.
I didn't get the cover, but
Yeah.
Is it a private cabin?
The cabin? Did the cabin have an agent?
it's called Burnside Lodge, and you can actually stay there and have your little, moment in the Northwoods.
Is there Wi-Fi?
There is Wi-Fi.
There is Wi-Fi.
There is Wi-Fi, and there are all kinds of crazy wildlife all over the place. There's moose, there's bald eagles, there's osprey, mises. And I got to see all of them. I got to see moose. I got to photograph moose in the wild.
There's moose and squirrel.
There's squirrel.
Did you talk to them? Because they're local.
All right, we have time for one more photograph, and then we have to do what's
let's
Twitter.
do it.
Ooh.
Oh, Golden Gate Bridge.
That is the Golden Gate Bridge, and if you look closely,
Greg.
reflected in the water
Holy
drop.
cow.
Inverted.
Yeah.
It's
Inverted.
inverted.
Awesome.
Oh, my
Thanks.
God. Is that convex or concave?
Concave.
How did you know to do that?
That's really cool.
That was one of those things where I was waiting for a storm to pass. I was at Fort Point under the Golden Gate Bridge, and I just looked at these droplets on my windshield of my car, and I said,
Wow.
look at that. So I actually got the lens right up to the windshield, took the photograph, and that ended up being
Wow, that's pretty cool.
the center spread for the article.
And
How
thank
much
God.
acid had you dropped?
Right, exactly.
Well, you can count 1, 2,
1, 2.
3, 4, 5 acid
Green
drops.
water.
Thank God you cleaned your windshield, too.
Thank you. Yeah. So again, and maybe this is bringing the conversation full circle. The happy accident plays such a huge role in photography, and that's an example where serendipity. A moment happens. It's not on the list. You take it, and the client says, "Well, wait a minute. What's this shot? Oh, well, that's just an extra I threw to you. Well, that's the one we're going to use."
Oh, wow.
Who said the decisive moment? Whose was that? Was that Cartier? No, not Cartier. Who said the decisive moment in photography? Anyway, don't want to get off track.
It could
fix
have
it in
been
post.
Edison. Could have been Thomas Edison.
No. It was a like a mid-century.
Oh, like a Henry.
I think it was a tri-X, like a journalist photographer.
Could have been Alfred Stieglitz, or it could have been. Okay, I will say this: Susan Sontag wrote a great book called On Photography.
I read it like 2 or 3 times.
That is an amazing book. It's only about 97 pages, and it's all about how photography changed human consciousness in the 20th century. Yeah. And everyone should put that on their reading list.
I will do that.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you ready for what's Twitter trending?
Oh, wow. Here we go.
Yeah. What is Twitter trending today is #horseface. Anyone know why?
I know the reference.
Anyone know why?
Yeah.
Sometimes we start doing this show and we forget what was happening in the day before we dived into this.
Right.
Wow.
Because in response to a lawsuit against him being dismissed, Trump has called Stormy Daniels on Twitter horseface.
Oh my god.
And you know what's funny is my autocorrect changed that to horse race, which would be
Oh, I see.
like, okay. But actually, it's one of his kinder nicknames since horses
It is true.
since horses are awesome.
That's
so
true.
Yeah.
So, Ever the gentleman, our president, went ahead and called her and did na horse face.
But he since amended it to Lady Horseface. So
Did he? Mrs. So here's a tweet from Tom Taylor. And he tweeted, "Remember when Howard Dean couldn't be president because he yelled once?"
That's
Yeah.
right. Wow. Yeah, we're waiting. Yeah.
On the other hand, that was the most
Yeah.
disturbing thing
That's
I'd
right.
ever seen.
Yeah.
Actually, though.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that egregious. I don't know why he lost the campaign.
It's because he looks. It's not because it was. It was just because it made him look dumb.
Is that what it was?
I think that's what it was, and people could never
It's so
take it seriously.
unforgiving.
It was
I know.
really unforgiving.
It's ridiculous, but that's what happened.
And
I
our
mean-
president now never does anything dumb.
He never
True,
does
or
anything.
egregious.
Or egregious. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Can you imagine if he did that same squeal? Would he be out?
No.
No.
I don't think so. And this from Myth, MITH, I'm far from being a perfect man, and I'm definitely not a preacher. 2 years ago, if Trump had made the horse face comment, I would have turned it around and made fun of the looks of damn near every Republican woman I could find. That's how misogyny perpetuates. So now I try not to do it. So, what can we learn from this? And I want to discuss it because Michelle Obama says, go high. And then Eric Holder said, kick him in the knees.
Let's call him Potato Face.
So how do we as a nation respond to a president who's being so unpresidential on the daily? What is
You have to take the high road. You do. You have to be more thoughtful and I think do the things that that apparently our president isn't doing,
Right. You have to establish a contrast because you're not going to win playing that game. He's for whatever reason he is an expert at it.
But don't you think he has a lot of fans who just love that he's a brawler, and so
what they love is the reaction he gets. So if you don't give the reaction, you will the power will be taken away.
Yeah.
But that's hard. It's hard to do that because it's a visceral thing.
Yeah.
But we don't want to teach our children that it's okay to call someone horseface. I mean, we should
No.
publicly shame him a little. I mean, this isn't right to let him get away with that.
so we
Because our
should.
kids think it's okay to be a person who's corrupt.
But
Doesn't-
okay, I'll play devil's advocate. But it's also like why was this lawsuit put into play? I mean, you're presenting opportunities to have him crow about things that were easily swatawayable or whatever. It was a dumb move. There's a lot of dumb moves being played, and it sets him up to make easy rebukes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he
well, that's
makes
true.
move after move after move, and there's barely kind of like a tiny roar before he makes the next egregious move that we just keep reacting.
Well, that's the trick, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It's a lot of bullying.
Well, I was going to say, thank God we live in a country where we have pundits that can come on and spell all this stuff out. Because if you live in North Korea, there are no people on the news going against anything that Kim Jong-un says.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
you have to at least respect the fact that, maybe not all of us, maybe none of us voted for Donald Trump, and maybe we don't like anything he does, but I still want to live in a country where we have the choice collectively to elect someone like that.
Are you announcing your candidacy right now? Because I'm getting behind you. If you
2020. Yes.
2020. No, I
think it's great we have a conversation. I love the fact, even
exactly.
though
The
the
fact that
media
you
is
can
getting
do
a
that.
lot of flack
Yeah.
for it,
Yeah.
Rachel Maddow turned around this college that wasn't allowing kids to vote because they were black, and she announced it. She did a whole show about it, and it was turned around the other day.
Yeah.
So at least exposure, shining light on things changes things, I think. Even
Yeah,
if it seems
yesterday-
That's sort of the
uncomfortable
idea.
for a while.
Yesterday, she exposed that you can't, if you're in North Dakota and you don't have a street address, you only have a PO address, which is what most of the Native
Yeah.
Americans there have. You can't vote unless you have a street address. So
Really?
Because Kavanaugh
Jeez.
just voted on that in the Supreme Court the other
yes,
day.
that swing vote.
He voted to make sure Native Americans
This
cannot
is a
vote.
new. Oh, really?
Cannot
I can't
vote.
believe that's happening in this
It's
time.
affecting
Yep.
voter rights and voter suppression, and it's really, really dangerous. So
Very scary.
is our press enough? Because it feels like that's all we have left.
All we have.
That feels like it goes back to 1955 when
Yes.
African Americans couldn't vote because they couldn't fill out this very complicated, questionnaire.
How many jelly beans are in this jar?
Yeah, how many jelly beans are in this jar? That kind of thing. And it just seems like that kind of stuff is so slippery. We have to really watchdog it. We have to talk about it.
North
we have to
Dakota is
shine
a
light
red
on it.
state, and they have Heidi Heitkamp
Right.
in there now. And
Yeah.
if the Indians are allowed to vote, they will go blue, and they don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And Kavanaugh got into the Supreme Court specifically to turn the tide against
Jeez.
voting rights, and they denounced the Voting Rights Act. They
That was
turned
part
it-
of the urgency.
part of the
getting him
urgency
Yes.
of getting
confirmed.
him in
Yeah.
was to
Yeah.
make sure they can only win by if you don't turn out to vote.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
the truth.
Good point.
So they're trying like crazy to get everybody assigned a street address in time for Election Day. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
So
Well.
we have a lot of work to do, and we want everybody to vote. And what's important is you guys' generation. Are you guys are all in your 20s. Are you and your friends registered to vote? How do you guys feel about the upcoming election? Is this something that you talk about and your responsibility and the role that you can play in your future?
Yeah, definitely. I think low voter turnout is a big problem, and every time you see a poll of our generation not voting, it's infuriating because it's we outnumber the people that are making these terrible decisions. So I think it's just important to keep reminding people, and that's what I've been doing, is just annoying my friends with Facebook posts every day. Just
Good.
go to vote.org, get registered, check if you're registered, because there are a lot of purges happening, and just get educated on who is in, from local up, who's in your district, and just vote.
I think the purges are especially happening if you don't have a history of voting. And so that's when it's most likely that you could be purged. So if you're suddenly going to vote this election cycle, go, and where can people go to make sure they are registered?
Go to vote, right?
Vote.org is
Yeah, vote.org.
It didn't.
Look
Look
that
at
up.
what Taylor Swift did. Was it last
Fantastic,
week? Yeah,
yes.
it's amazing how many thousands and thousands of people registered to vote.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we
mean,
go.
top in-
Spoke
Vote.org.
out. She got
So-
in trouble though.
Find out
so
if
this
you're
has
registered. Yeah.
it has everything. It has deadlines in every state. You can register through it. It has everything you need.
Vote.org.
Vote.org.
great.
Vote.org.
That's
Nice.
wonderful.
All right. Are you ready for Facebook feed time?
Are you ready?
This is from my friend Rosie Taravella. She is traveling with her husband Scott to help out Hurricane Michael storm survivors in Florida. And she writes, Scott and I are at the airport. The other photo includes our storm shelter in Panama City, a tented lot. Maybe headed there. And then, guys, if you want to go ahead and pull up the comments, you can see that a lot of her friends are also going down to volunteer. And it's like what Greg spoke about.
Yeah.
But I guess, at least this morning, I saw a lot of my Facebook friends that were going down or that knew people who were going down to help. And this is absolutely fantastic. Can you read some of those comments, guys?
This is good.
Sure. Hi, Rosie. My parents deployed to Tallahassee yesterday. They will be running a child care center for the Red Cross. Once I find out exactly where they are, I'll let you know.
Pretty
Here,
much
Greg,
the
why
rest
don't
of
you
them
read
are response is wonderful.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah,
do be
they're all
safe.
gung-ho. Good
One of
stuff.
my students has her whole family friends there. I feel better knowing they'll be in good hands. Rosie, XO.
Joe Cipriano won't be there, right? Then I'm in. That's another comment. You don't see that.
Nancy Orlando
I see
writes,
that.
that does not look like glamping, but at least you'll be roughing it with your husband. Stay safe.
Yeah. Did you guys bring up the photo of the tent city that Rosie's going to be living in? That's
Oh, let's
Oh,
see.
wow.
yeah.
Oh, there
so
it
Yeah.
is. Yes, that is not glamping.
it is
Oh,
not
no.
glamping.
And I can tell you firsthand, because I just did hurricane relief work, that it is muddy and it is messy and it is hard, backbreaking work. I mean, digging mud and putting it into buckets and then getting the buckets up to the top of a street.
Do
I
not
gotta
bring
get
an
you to come help me
expensive
do
scarf.
Joe's lawn next week.
Yeah. But I'll tell you
yeah.
what, it you feel so good
Gucci
doing it because
Yeah.
it's not like you're doing a chore at your parents' house, you know, like when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
You're actually doing something and helping the local community. And when you see these young kids that are being refugeed because they can't even get to their home and they've got tears in their eyes. I mean, we had tears in our eyes every single day.
Yeah.
I would think that just seeing the number of people who have stopped what they were doing and come down to help you
Yeah.
alone is just so heartwarming and gratifying to feel like we're all on this planet together. We're all part of the same human organism. And if somebody needs help, then people come. And that probably means as much as the water or anything else that you're bringing them. You're bringing them humanity.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually thought about bending my story at first, like, hey, I flew out here to do this. But my friend said, no, keep it the way
Keep it real.
Keep it
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought maybe for 10 minutes. But then my friend said, no, it's so much more of an interesting story if, we tell the truth that we came here for a surfing vacation and it turned out to be hurricane relief and cleanup.
Yeah.
And he's right. It did. It's just like, well, why didn't I think of coming to, help and, so.
But now you know that you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that anyone can, if they have the time and the money to get on a plane and go. You don't have to, just because something's happening in Florida
Right.
doesn't mean you can't book a trip to Florida
Right.
and help.
You can probably contact a Red Cross and
Yeah.
an organization such as that to find out what's the best way that I can get on a plane and be in that glamp city with Rosie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You bring your own shovel.
In fact, as soon as you get onto Google, you can put, Hurricane Michael Relief Center.
Volunteer.
And they'll
And
give
they'll
you
show
a
you.
total list of all the people in the area where you can sign up and volunteer. And, if you don't want to do hard labor, you can go and sort supplies because they need people to do that.
Sure.
Taking cleaning supplies, putting them over here, putting fresh water over here.
They would do follow up on what happens to families after, like the devastating fire in Santa Rosa. The whole neighborhood was wiped out.
Yeah.
Where did they go afterwards?
True.
Did they
Yeah.
rebuild?
A lot of them
We
went
should
to,
do
yeah.
documentaries on that.
Yeah. I knew a woman, a family, the Merrick family lost their house up in Ventura during the St. Thomas fire, the big one that ripped through Santa
Right.
Barbara. And they're rebuilding. They're finally back up on the property. They were able to, get a backhoe up there and get all the soil turned, and they've got to rebuild from scratch. They lost everything.
Well, our hearts go out to you. We want everyone to stay safe, stay well, and be well. And we are Things I Found Online. I want to thank Joe Cipriano, Jack Daniel, Gregory Schell, Lydia Cornell, David Court, Lane, and Francesco, and Devin. Devin's here this week. Yay!
And the nameless one.
I am Louise Palanker. We are Things I Found Online. Please rate us and give us a nice review. That helps other fine people like yourself find our wonderful program. And thank you so much for a wonderful show. We'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Later.
See ya.
Later, bye. Thank you.
Yay.